Welcome to another edition of Historic Key West, brought to you by WFUN.TV. In this episode, we're spotlighting 202 Duval Street, the current site of the Rick's and Dirty Harry's complex. Well, back in 1900, there was a watchmaker and a jeweler by the name of William McKillop, who apparently had a thriving business there in the 200 block of the still unpaved Duval Street. Notice that even back then you could buy souvenirs right there on Duval. In the 1930s, Pepe's Cafe had a location at 202 Duval, and it also appeared to be the hangout of the notorious and largely forgotten Key West mob. Just kidding, there was no Key West mob, I don't think. Well, I get the feeling that these guys don't much like the guy walking by. Or maybe it was just the opposite. Maybe it was an early gay bar. It could be, I guess. In the 1950s, there was a taxi stand there in front of Pepe's. And apparently someone who didn't much want his picture taken. Or maybe he was just really sad. Or maybe the Key West mob was after him. I guess we'll never know. In the 1960s, apparently Pepe's went all in for C. Farris Bryant, who did serve as Florida governor from 1961 to 1965. And he was no relation to the anti-gay activist and guardian of all things decent, Anita Bryant, who unfortunately would come on the scene about a decade later. And speaking of a decade later, in the 1970s, you could get a great meal at La Mistral Fine Dining right there at 202 Duval. Well, this has been another edition of Historic Key West, brought to you by WFUN.TV. Thanks so much for watching.